There is something special about Spongebob's atmosphere. Wait, I've talked about this already. Now, I'm not talking about the underwater aesthetic of Season 1, but the Hawaiian aesthetic of the show that makes it so cozy and calming. So there are basically two main aesthetics in SpongeBob, with one being Hawaiian and one being nautical. I thought I was really smart by identifying these two, but then I saw that everyone had figured this out as well. I think both of these aesthetics are great, and I want to talk about the nautical pirate vibe of the show in the future, but today it's Hawaii time. There is really no better place to start than with the music of the show. SpongeBob has used Hawaiian music ever since the beginning, and it was also original Hawaiian tracks made long before the show. Shout out to Greg Cubed, his video on this topic is great. Having these Hawaiian background tracks playing since the earliest episodes helped set the tone of the show. There is a reason the background tracks I'm using in my videos are Hawaiian tracks. I mean, they do slap on their own, but in my opinion, they just add to the atmosphere of it being a SpongeBob video. Because for me, and probably many other fans of the show, it's SpongeBob that comes to mind when I hear Hawaiian music. And that's cause we had many of these absolute banger tracks in the early seasons that helped create the atmosphere we all came to love.
Gotta be in top physical condition for today, Gary.
Like I said, my usual background tracks are Hawaiian tracks, but not from the show because of copyrights. However, for this video I'm gonna try to play some from the show. I got a Spotify playlist with my favorite SpongeBob background tracks that I put on sometimes. It's a nice palette cleanser from my Youngboy playlist. The Hawaiian vibe is at its peak in Season 1, which fittingly has the strongest underwater vibe of the whole show. I talked about this season just having the perfect atmosphere, but I have bad memory and I don't want to watch my older videos because I'm scared of YouTube thinking I'm viewbotting. So I'm just gonna guess what I said in that video. Probably something about atmosphere and SpongeBob. Season 1 has a lot of just beautiful shots that go perfectly with the Hawaiian music that was used a lot more back then. These tracks were common in the earlier seasons, but as the show changed, the music changed accordingly, and we don't really get bops like this in later seasons. But to say that the later seasons don't have the Hawaiian aesthetic at all would be a lie, since we have enchanted Tiki Dreams in Season 7. While Season 7 certainly don't use as many of the Hawaiian tracks, the second half of this episode is probably the most Hawaiian the show has ever been.
It's beautiful.
The music here is on point. It's a song that we have heard in the show before, first appearing times before disappearing for 8 years, and it's been a while since we've seen it again in the main show. This was an episode I never saw as a kid. I only grew up with the first 6 seasons, but I distinctly remember watching this episode on an airplane, still many years ago, I was still a kid, but less of a kid. It was at a time after I had stopped watching the show, so it was probably the first episode I had seen in a long while. And I remember thinking it was a nice episode, and that's kind of good because this is a Season 7 episode, and as some of y'all might know, Season 7 is not exactly peak SpongeBob. Now, the first half of this episode might be a bit rough, but just the vibe of the Tiki land in the second half is amazing. Add to this the fact that SpongeBob and Patrick are trying to give their friend this cool vacation, which is something that feels a lot like the early seasons where the Hawaiian aesthetic was more present. It just becomes a feel-good episode that adds to the experience of this Hawaiian vibe, atmosphere, aesthetic. I don't know, I'm using the three words like kind of congruently. But I mean, they symbolize the same thing. It's like the whole, vibe of the show.
Hit it, boys!
Welcome to Squidward's Tiki Land. Tiki.
This song is fire. It goes on for a while as Squidward is just so happy, even dancing with SpongeBob and Patrick, which unfortunately results in Patrick knocking over stuff and destroying the entire Tiki Land.
I know how to make it last!
Not the nicest ending, but Squidward is still happy in the end, which still means something, I guess. But those minutes in the actual Tiki Land felt like going back to at least the atmosphere of the earlier seasons, if just for a moment.
Here in Squidward's Tiki Land.
This is the life.
The earlier seasons, especially season 1, were more relaxed than the seasons that came after them. This just wouldn't work in a modern episode because it's such a different show. Squidward's house is obviously an Eastern Island head, and while I'm not sure if Eastern Island is Hawaii, it's very fitting for the Hawaiian aesthetic. When it comes to buildings, it's not just Squidward's house that gives that vibe, but we also got the Reef, which is the cinema in Bikini Bottom. This place has this great tiki interior, both in the cinema itself, but also in the other area.
Look how happy it makes everybody.
Well, it does attract a lot of attention.
I know. People just can't keep their eyes off of me.
Neither can I, SpongeBob.
I don't know what you call this part of a cinema, like the lounge, maybe? Anyways, I love it. In this scene especially.
They all ran away, Patrick.
I bet there's no line at the snack bar. Hello? Hello? They must be on break.
The entrances to the movie salons are just perfect and fit so well. Even the toilets in this place got a similar vibe with the flower clouds on the ceiling.
I'm out of soap. Could I borrow?
Stay back!
I just want some.
Here's my money. Take it and go away.
My hands aren't that dirty.
And we of course can't forget the actual flower clouds in the show, which just added so much to the atmosphere. The beginning of SP129 perfectly exemplifies how well the music works in season 1.
It is Sunday morning in Bikini Bottom, and it is about time for Squidward to practice his clarinet. So get your earplugs ready.
This just looks beautiful, and the visuals are enhanced by the beautiful Hawaiian track playing in the background. Another mid-era SpongeBob episode that has a strong Hawaiian vibe is SpongeBob SquarePants vs. the Big One in season 6.
Hold you!
What?
After a big wave hits Goo Lagoon, where the Krusty Crew were serving Krabby Patties, they are taken here.
Guys, look!
I like a lot of the music in this episode, and with how much sand and seaweed and stuff is in this, it makes sense to use more underwater feeling tracks, like compared to the more goofy tracks that they tended to use more and more as the show went on.
I'll make a beeline for the tree line. I just can't wait to get back in the world.
This is another very calming episode. Or I don't know about episode, but this part is relaxing at least. Also, Johnny Depp guest stars in this special to say like 5 lines.
You obviously didn't stare into the fire all night like your friends over there. Those dudes are gonna make awesome surfers.
But yeah, except for a couple episodes, they really dropped the Hawaiian aesthetic after the first few seasons. And it's kinda sad, but I get it. Like, listen to how a season 14 episode sounds and you will hear why you can't really have calm Hawaiian tracks playing in the background.